It is 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you would, please rise. If you would, please bow your head. Father, we thank you for this day, and Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather. And Father, we just pray for your wisdom. Father, we pray for our citizens. Father, we pray for our first responders, that you would keep them safe, and we also pray for all of the employees of the city. Father, we also pray for those on the roads. Father, that you would protect them and keep them safe. And Father, we just pray for wisdom in this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
This time, Councilmember Bryant will present the pledges.
Would you join me in the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. It is my pleasure to be able to present a proclamation to the Girl Scouts. So if we could have our Girl Scouts come up, please. And to let y'all know kind of what a proclamation is, it's just an official document from the city. It just proclaims it's Girl Scout Week. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, okay? It's hard to get old when you have to use glasses. March 12th, 2018 marks the 106th anniversary of the Girl Scouts of the USA, founded by Juliette Gordon Lowe in 1912 in Savannah, Georgia. Throughout its long and distinguished history, Girl Scouting has inspired millions of girls and women with the highest ideals of character, conduct, and patriotism. Through Girl Scouting, girls gain courage, confidence, character, which make their local communities and the world a better place. More than 2.6 million current Girl Scout members nationwide will be celebrating the 106 years of this American tradition, with nearly 60 million women who are former Girl Scouts and the living proof of the impact of this amazing movement. Now, therefore, I, David R. Turner, by the virtue of authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Odessa, do hereby proclaim March 11th through the 17th, 2018 as Girl Scout Week. Throughout the city of Odessa, I encourage all citizens to hereby applaud the commitment Girl Scouting has made to America's girls. Congratulations. And I will give you all the proclamation. Do we need a picture?
Yes, can we?
Sure. All right, let's go out here. Come on.
Ready?
Thank y'all very much.
There's several of those rich guys out there that buy all those cookies. Mr. Podzimity carries lots of money around with him. Got a commissioner here that's got lots of money. He can afford several boxes of cookies.
Sure.
All right, start coughing up the money. Y'all want to walk around there and you can give a box to them?
Take the box up there and find somebody and give it to them.
Don't come around here.
Thank you.
Come on down here. Line you down here.
They're free.
Yeah, no.
No, they're free. They're just.
Well, we got to make it over.
That's exactly right. And you have to bring me all those, I just don't got it. No. See the guy from the end over there? He's got a lot of grandkids.
Put one right there in the middle, it's not. They may have one more round of applause. All righty, we'll go ahead and move to the consent agenda. I understand there's some items that need to be removed.
Yes, sorry. E, F, and G, please.
Okay, we have a motion to remove E, F, and G from the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Okay, now we need to approve the remaining consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the rest of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We've now completed the consent agenda. Item E, consider authorization of the Odessa Police Department to purchase an e-ticket software system.
Yeah, I am very excited about this, and it's something that I really feel like our citizens are going to appreciate. Well, maybe not at the time they get one, but I think they will appreciate it, and I think it's going to speed things up with our department and certainly help our officers a great deal. And just want you to explain to the people what we're doing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for allowing me to be here. The police department is requesting permission to purchase 40 electronic ticket writers. Along with that would be 40 printers and the associated equipment to go with that. These devices are, if you allow me to do a little bit of short PowerPoint presentation. This on the screen right here is what the device would look like. It's actually very similar to a smartphone. The officer that was to conduct a traffic stop could walk up. This has a scanner on it that would allow him or her to scan the registration sticker on the front windshield of your vehicle. That would auto-populate into the device. Saves the time from the officer having to write that information, cuts down on errors, and then it also has a scanner on it that allows the officer to scan the citizen's driver's license, and that populates that information in there. With this information being scanned in there electronically, it would be a great savings of time for our citizens also. It would reduce the amount of time that the citizens would be inconvenienced. As I go through, I'll explain some other wonderful functions. This picture right here is the actual printers that will use it. It's connected through Bluetooth. After the officer made contact with the citizen and collected the information, they would return back to their vehicle, and the citation would actually print out from there. And then we would be able to give the citizen their copy of that. This is, as you can see there, we're asking to purchase the 40 handheld units, the 40 mobile printers, and the software. Another great feature of this, that allows the officers to be able to complete their crash reports, their accident investigations. In a similar fashion, the officer would be able, on a crash scene, would be able to go up and scan the registration barcodes that will fill in the vehicle information, scan the driver's license of all the parties involved, and populate that. So that we should add great efficiency and allow the officers to clear that accident scene so much faster. With the traffic congestion that we have in the areas, everybody knows, anything we can do to open these roadways up quicker to get the traffic flowing would be a great savings to our citizens in time. Another huge time saver is to be able to collect the racial profiling data. Currently, the officers, they have to manually enter all that information. This e-ticket writer would allow us, once you scan the driver's license, it collects that data for us. And it has reports that we can easily run to submit that information to the state. Cuts down on the man hours spent entering that information, as well as improves the accuracy of the reports that we submit to the state. Some other benefits from it is currently the officers, they handwrite the citation, which takes a little while. Then that information is forwarded over to municipal court. Over there, municipal court employees have to manually enter that data into a database. This e-ticket writer system allows it to be uploaded to a cloud, so that could be exported out in a much more legible format, as well as with an interface integrated into any future system that municipal court went to. The total one-time cost for this project will be $211,356.84. There will be an ongoing fee of $24,848 per year for the licensing, upgrade, maintenance, as well as the storage fees for utilizing the cloud. The IT department has graciously agreed to accept this into their budget as an ongoing expenditure. This one-time fee will be financed by the police department using past unspent supplemental funds in the amount of $90,390, and the remaining $120,966.84 will come out of the forfeiture funds. And that's how we, and if I may, I have a short video here that this kind of demonstrates.
Cell phone number for you, 214-668-8156. And just tell me about it, please. We'll stop there, right now.
As you were able to see there on the video, the officers, you first made contact, you reached around to scan the barcode scanner at the front of the vehicle. He obtained the driver's license from the citizen, scanned it, it imported all that information. The officer just has to complete the location of the violation, the actual violation charge, phone number, any other information that that particular agency requires. And at that time, the officer returned to their vehicle. That's where the printer was located, had it print off, and was able to log back up. You can see, you know, that it adds, greatly reduces the amount of time that the officer and that the citizen is stopped. At this time, is there
Any questions from council?
Well, I just make a statement that there's no question the efficiencies it's going to create, but the biggest thing that's so exciting is the fact of how we're paying for it with unused forfeiture funds as well as past unused supplemental. So that's great in itself.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for all your time.
I'll entertain a motion.
So,
Make your second.
okay.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Item F, consider approval of the annexation of the Madrid subdivision, Block 1. Mr. Kirk.
Evening, Mayor, Council. Give a little background on these, item F and G, and they're both very similar items. The Ector County Utility District is a municipal utility district west of Odessa, west of our West Loop. They provide water services to the residents out in that area. As a municipal utility district, they're also a taxing district, so they receive funds through taxes on properties that they serve, as well as water rates that they charge. So under our contract as the water supplier for the Ector County Utility District, we require that we see the properties that they're annexing and view them through council so that we can ensure that if they are starting to have some really big areas coming in, some really large growth, that we can take that into consideration in terms of our water supplies and what we're doing. These cases are pretty typical for us. These are individual type lots, usually just serving a residential or two, and so often they're not a major concern. So this is a request for annexation, approval of annexation to the Ector County Utility District of the Madrid subdivision, Block 1, lots 1 and 2, so that's 2 lots, into the Ector County Utility District for Ector County Utility District service.
Okay, are there any questions from council?
Is there anyone from ECUD here tonight?
I'm here. I'm Tommy.
I think it's really, really neat what the county is doing concerning taxes and all of that, along with this. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, and how many minutes do I have? Mr. Brown? 3. I'm president of the ECUD board, Tommy Irvin. I've been on that board about 12 years. We raise taxes to pay for infrastructure. That's what our tax money goes to. The profit off the water that we sell goes to our operations. And like Mr. Carter said, we buy 100% of our water from the city of Odessa. I've been up here before talking about contracts and this, that, and other stuff, and I'll be up here probably in about 1.5 years or so. We'll do this again. And our process is, if somebody comes to the office, we make sure that they are within the district. We make sure that we can supply them water under a 35 PSI pressure in our pressure planes. And once that happens, then the paperwork's filled out. The engineers usually do their thing. They take the information to the city up here through legal to the utility department. When they come back to us, my question is, has Irvon looked through this and run it through his model? And if the answer is yes, then it's a done deal. It's over with. And we will supply them with water. And these two right here are something that, like Mr. Carter said, there's 2 of them, just of many that we have, applications. And we also we finished up our master plan, which is awesome. We've been working on it for about 3 years. And we're looking for $101 million to expand our district. So if y'all got any extra money, we appreciate it. Any other questions?
Any questions?
Well, I know Mr. Gardner and I are probably more interested in this than anybody because his father worked with
Awesome.
ECUD a lot. And to me, it just thrills me that we as a city of Odessa are able to share our water and people in West Odessa are able to have water that they couldn't have before. And the way that y'all have organized and are doing it now is very impressive. So thank you.
Awesome. We appreciate you.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Irvin? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item G, consider approval of the annexation of Westgate subdivision, Block 8. Mr. Kirk.
Thank you again, Mayor, Council. This is a similar item. This is just a separate lot locations. This is consider approval of the annexation of Westgate subdivision, Block 8, lots 10 and 11. Replat Block 8, Lot 4 into the Ector County Utility District.
Okay, any questions from Mr.
Do you know how many houses will be receiving water in that subdivision from this?
The total of Westgate, or, no, I don't have that number offhand.
The Westgate will be approximately 100 RV locations, am I correct?
That's the Madrid.
West-
That's the Madrid. This one here only has 2 houses only.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Westgate.
Any other questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Next, we move to other council actions. A public hearing, we'll open a public hearing to consider the approval of the request by D.R. Horton. Mr. Brennan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Yeah, got it.
City Council approved this request on first reading back on February the 27th of this year. The property involved in the request is located northeast of the intersection of Kate Reed Drive and proposed extension of P-Bar Ranch Road. The site is currently designated future development. It is vacant. Land use in the general area is vacant land. The applicant and the property owner in this case is D.R. Horton, and the purpose of this original zoning request would facilitate the development of 655 single-family residential lots. Each lot would average approximately 7,500 square feet. There's also included in this development a neighborhood amenity center and 2 surface drainage basins. Site plan approval to establish the development standards for the project would be required prior to any development on this property. This area is located in the northeastern area of the city's future land use map. This area is generally considered one of the prime areas for new residential growth in Odessa. The proposed land use for this area is consistent with the identified city priority of vibrant new neighborhoods and a diverse range of housing. And the zoning requested for this site and the proposed development's design is consistent with the city's priority for attractive, safe, connected roadways with the intended land use context taken into consideration. The Planning and Zoning Commission gave unanimous approval of this request, and the planning staff does concur with this recommendation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from council?
I do. The houses in this, are they going to have an alley or be without an alley?
No, ma'am, there will be no alley. It'll be roll-out containers.
No alley.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
And there's
It'll be
655 new homes.
It'll be consistent with the previous developments in this area that are all serviced with roll-out containers. Yes, ma'am.
I would like for someone to talk to me about the neighborhood center that they plan to put in.
Okay. I could, but the representative is here if you'd like to hear from
Okay,
him.
good.
Thank you. Can you state your name, sir?
John Landgraf, 521 North Texas. Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman, the amenity center will be very similar to the one that they have in the first phase, and they do these about every 500 or 600 homes. They create a new amenity center, so it's just time to add one with the growth, and it will be, it's equivalent to about 5 lots. We took 5 lots, set aside the amenity, to set aside for the amenity center. It'll have open green space, dog walking, green grass area, a small swimming pool, a splash pad, sheltered areas for stay out of the sun by the pool area, and then a little club meeting room type thing.
Will there be any playground equipment?
Yes, just like what they have at the other one. If I'd known, I should have brought some pictures. I didn't realize.
The current one has that.
Yes, it does. It has some playground equipment, shade areas, splash pad, and pool.
Okay. I just want to compliment them and thank them for doing this, because it will make a huge difference in the neighborhood and enrich the lives of the families living there.
Thank you. We'll pass that on.
Please pass that on.
Will do.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time, we will open up the floor for any public comment on this agenda item. If you would, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 2, remove from the table and open a public hearing.
Make a motion, remove from the table.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to remove from the table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now, we will open a public hearing to consider the approval of the request on Beaton Mode. Mr. Brindley.
Yes, we're running into a real technical difficulty here. There we go. Yes, sir, the property involved in this request is located southeast of the intersection of East 91st Street and Rainbow Drive. This site is currently zoned single-family 3. It's also zoned planned development, single-family surface drainage, and also designated as future development. This site is vacant, and land use in the area does consist of single-family residential development and vacant land. The applicant and property owner in this case is Beaton Bow Homes, and the purpose of the original zoning and rezoning request would facilitate the development of a single-family residential subdivision that consists of 84 lots. The average size of each of these lots is approximately 7,369 square feet. The design would incorporate enhanced flexibility for possibilities related to building setbacks and lot coverage. This area is located in the northern area of the city's future land use map. This area is considered one of the prime areas for new residential growth in Odessa. The proposed development is intended to be a quality new neighborhood that will maintain its long-term value through the attention to design and neighborhood amenities, and is consistent with the city's priority for attractive, safe, and connected roadways. The traffic issues that were related to this case have been resolved. That will consist of some additional four-way traffic signals and also flashing speed signs, things of this nature. Planning and Zoning Commission did give unanimous approval of this request, and the planning staff does concur with this recommendation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions from council? Okay.
Well, I do.
No.
We had a couple of complaints, and one of them involved traffic, and you've taken care of that traffic, and that would take care of this traffic complaint also, I suppose, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then they also were upset about the water drainage. Can you help us with that?
The drainage issue, I can't, but I can throw Tom Kerr under
It
the
says
bus right
natural
quick.
area will be destroyed, water drainage will be unavailable.
Well, actually, the water is going to be drained into the drainage basin that's just to the east of this site. It's over in this area right in through here, because that's exactly what that is surface drainage and what it's designed for. And through the platting process, the drainage will be funneled over to that surface drainage.
Okay, so there's not gonna be a problem with any water for the homes then?
No, ma'am, there will not be. We definitely make sure that's not going to happen.
Okay. Then the next complaint was that they did not want their neighbor's fence abutting next to their fence. So-
There is a alley separation between on that. I really don't know where that complaint was coming from.
So
There is an alley
has anybody
separation.
looked into that and talked to the people about what their problem is?
I do not know if they have, but I know that there will be an alley separation, and we can address that problem and get it taken care of and resolved.
Okay. I don't want to monopolize this. Do y'all have anything you want to say or add?
Any question?
Well, I guess my next question is, what about neighborhood amenities? Amenities?
There is a
Are there going to be any?
There is a representative from Beaton Bow here. I'd like to have him address the council
Okay.
at this time, if you would. Kelly?
In Kelly Oaks, 200 100th Street, representing Beaton Homes. So the area that he was showing you, that's drainage in this area.
Right.
There's actually a plan that has been, so we contracted KDC Associates, architects, to design what can be done with an area that large, so that we could coordinate with the Odessa Parks Foundation to try to get grants for that. In this particular area, the school is right there. So it's just around the corner, which right across the street from that is the park. But what we have planned for the future phase that's actually further to the east are smaller neighborhood parks that are more localized, so they're walking distance rather than any driving distance, which is what we're seeing right now in the neighborhood.
Okay. Oh, you know how I feel about the parks.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm really gonna be on this. We haven't passed our parks ordinance yet. Kind of hoping that developers will step up themselves and do things.
Yes, ma'am.
And I expect parks. I can't speak for anybody else, but I think maybe Mike expects parks, and but it has to go along with our parks department and have to follow their codes and all.
Right.
Sounds like you're working with them or something.
Yes, sir.
I guess this is kind of like a warning sign.
That's from one council.
That's from one council member. But we got a lot of homes there, and I know you want families. And families need green spaces. They need grass, they need sunshine, they need places for their kids to play, to walk, to enjoy the outdoors.
Absolutely.
And,
We're working with Steve.
Y'all are doing a good job, but I guess I want to see it on paper, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and keep working with Steve and kind of get a little fire built up, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are there any other
Thank
questions?
you, Kelly, and I've appreciated working with you.
Okay, are there any other questions? At this time, this is a public hearing, so we'll open up the floor for anyone who would like to comment on this agenda item. If you would, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 3, open a public hearing to consider the approval of the request by ICA Properties. Mr. Graham.
Yes, sir. The property involved in this request is located northwest and northeast of intersection of Mission Boulevard and Dorado Drive. The sites are currently designated future development. They are vacant. The property is surrounded by vacant land. The applicant in this case is ICA Properties, the owner of the property, and RSP Permian is the agent. And the purpose of this request for original zoning would designate the property as a drill site, and this would facilitate oil and gas well development on these properties. This area is located in the far east section of the city's future land use map. This is south of Highway 191. The area, or the future land use map does call for retail and commercial development backed by single-family residential development. The incorporated oil and gas well development would be regulated through the city's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, and this is the drilling ordinance that's in existence for the city. And they will be required to include buffering and screening and landscaping that would minimize any impact to any future surrounding development. The zoning requested for this site is not out of scale with the needs of the neighborhood area and with the city. And I'd like to add that what this is designed to do, it would increase the size of these drill sites. However, it will eliminate the number of drill sites that will be in the area. And that's what all these companies are going to now. And it'll be additional requests of this nature in the future. But it will eliminate the overall number of drill sites that we see coming up in the city. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did give unanimous approval to this request, and planning staff does concur with this recommendation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Brindley?
Yeah, I see the 2 large drill sites, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Will all of those other drill sites disappear?
It
Or
may
are
not.
they going to still be there?
No, it may not be all of them, but a significant number of them will. There's some that have some existing equipment on there, and they will stay, but a significant number of them will disappear, and that production will be incorporated into these 2 sites.
Okay, any other question? Okay, this is a public hearing, so at this time we will open the floor for any comments on this agenda item. If you would, please come forward. Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
That's good.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 4, we'll open a public hearing to consider the approval of the request of Vicky C. and Thomas Benny W. Hurd. Mr. Brennan.
Yes, sir. The property involved in this request is located northeast of the corner of the intersection of Catalina Drive and West 24th Street. This site is currently zoned single-family 2, and it is occupied by a vacant residential structure. Land use in the area does consist of residential development and retail development. The applicants and property owners in this case are Vicky C. and Thomas Benny W. Hurt, the owners of the property, and Selmar Counseling LP is the auctionee. The purpose of the zone change from single-family 2 to retail 1 would consolidate this zoning with the remaining zoning of the adjacent property, and it would allow the redevelopment of the vacant residential structure into a family counseling center. This area is located in the western portion of the city's future land use map. This area is considered retail development backed by medium-density residential development, and required design standards, which would include landscaping and controlled ingress and egress, would minimize any impact on adjacent properties. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did give unanimous approval of this request, and staff also concurs with the recommendation for approval.
Okay.
Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Brindley?
Yeah. Are they going to enlarge the Western Manor, or what is going on with this property?
It'll just be a redevelopment of a vacant single-family home.
Just did what now?
There's a vacant single-family residence on this lot right now,
Yeah.
and the applicant will be leasing this property to be utilized as a family counseling center. It will be remodeled and used as that instead of being a vacant house.
Okay.
Okay, other questions?
So, other than the Western Manor, there's no other businesses there?
Not on this particular lot, no ma'am. The remainder of the shopping center is located in this area surrounding this particular property right here. This right here is the one that has the vacant home on it. And
Okay.
That's what will be utilized as a family counseling center.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing, so at this time I will open up the floor for any comments on this particular line item. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, we'll open a public hearing to consider the approval of the request of Triple J Investments. Mr. Brindley, I'm going to let you go first, but we do have some citizens who would like to speak after.
Yes, sir. The city did mail out 13 notices related to the case. One notice returned. We did receive one written protest and no written approvals. The property involved in the request is located in the northeast corner of the intersection of Dawn Avenue and Charles Walker Road. The site is currently designated future development. It is vacant. Land use in the area does consist of single-family residential development and vacant land. The applicant and property owner is Triple J Investments. And the purpose of the request for single-family residential, or for the original zoning of SPD, would create 6 lots. The average size of these lots is 14,520 square feet, and this would facilitate single-family residential development and related uses on the property. This area is located in the northern area of the city's future land use map. This area is considered one of the prime areas for new residential growth in Odessa. The land use for this area is consistent with the identified city priority of a vibrant new neighborhood and diverse range of housing. The zoning requested for the site and the proposed development design is consistent with the city's priority for attractive, safe, connected roadways with the intended land use context taken into consideration. The Planning and Zoning Commission did approve this request, and the planning staff does concur with this recommendation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions from council?
Yeah, I do. First thing that kind of bothers me about this, look down there at Charles Walker Road. It's right below the area that says FD. Then you go up about 4 or 5 lots, and you find again Charles Walker Road.
Yes, ma'am.
It's rather confusing to people. Why are we doing that?
Main reason is so it wouldn't be a straight shot between Grandview and Don Avenue.
So you can't get a straight shot, so why don't you have two different streets?
So you don't have a straight shot and have traffic just shooting right through. It's designed to break up the traffic flow.
No, but I don't see why you don't have Charles Walker Road, and it's gonna dead end to that little subdivision area. And then the one north of that, name it something else. Wouldn't that be less confusing to the people living there?
Well, that was really the developer, and 911 didn't have issue with it being
Is the
done that
developer
way.
here?
That road, Ms. Ruff, has been there 20, 30 years.
Yeah, about,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's had the name for some time now.
Well, I still think if I were living there, that would bother me. My friends would come to see me, and they're gonna have to drive around trying to figure out where it goes.
Pretty smart people to do that.
So,
Any other questions?
anyway. Yeah, how many are they gonna put in there?
6 lots.
6.
Yes, ma'am.
But you say there are, and we do have this one letter, and I suppose that person will be here to address it tonight?
Probably so.
Okay. I'll wait.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I will go ahead and open up the public hearing, but we do have some citizens who have asked to speak. Javier Morales has had a request to speak and is opposed to this agenda item. So Mr. Morales, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City personnel. I don't have enough time in 3 minutes to say all my points, but I'll do my best. I did come to the planning and zoning meeting, and I did provide all my points there. My main concern is the safety of the building there. If you look right here, if you're coming out of our neighborhood here and you're gonna get on Dawn, you have people coming 55, 60 miles an hour through here. You don't see them. This is all ranch land and big tall mesquites, probably, I don't know, 8 feet tall. You don't see them. One time I came out here and I saw that the kid was in a Trans Am or something. He didn't want to slow down. So I went into the median here. There's like a little empty field here. And so my concern is if you build a house here, you're not gonna be able to see anything there, you know, to be able to see if a car's coming. And the speed limit's 50, but nobody goes 50. You can't have the police go enforce that. It's kind of it used to be an old country road. Now it's not. If you go up to the very top of that street, you have on the right side, you just approved two or 3 weeks ago, 200 acres of more beanbone homes, 5 a week that are coming up. On the left side of that, in a few months, you're gonna have the 2 apartment complexes you approved, 140 units of low-income housing that's gonna come about. On the corner, also of 87th and Dawn, you have, I'm trying to speak as fast as I can, you have an new elementary school there, and across the street is a church on there. If you go on Charles Walker now and you go east, you have St. Elizabeth, they're a multi-million-dollar expansion because they have a lot of members. Where do you think they go? Through the weird Charles Walker. That's where they cross. Also, Ratliff Stadium used to be 12 football games a year. Now it's 140 events. ECISD does their bus training through our neighborhood. You also have the police department does part of their academy training there. You have soccer fields. You also have a softball field next to St. Elizabeth that's being used. I think you would do a great favor to us to see how the city and the developer are going to help us. You did that SF1 development, and then you did the front of this subdivision on Yukon and Tobosa. That's all new homes, and we're not addressing that. And all this goes back to something you paid for 3 years ago, a lot of money for a comprehensive master plan, and the number one thing that's outlined for this neighborhood is keep it blue, which is one of the nicest neighborhoods to attract people here. Keep it low density, big lots on these homes. And the last thing, preserve it like it is. Don't change it. So when they present to you how they're going to build these homes, are they going to match the existing homes? I really think that you would do us a great favor for our neighbors to the neighbors there to be happy with that. I'm not against development, you know, the other developments that have gone in our neighborhood have been great. It needs to be that way.
And it's
Thank you.
not.
Thank you very much. Next is Johnny Guerrero, requested to speak and he is opposed.
Javier, where do you live in conjunction?
Across the street, sir, from that.
Okay, thank you.
Number 3, Alameda.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Johnny Guerrero. I live at 7600 Vista del Sol, which is right here on that corner. I mean, I don't know how to follow up Dr. Morales. I mean, he pretty much hit on every point that I kind of wanted to hit on. Safety's mainly the big deal going on right there. I mean, I don't know what else to add to Dr. Morales. Like I said, it's like he hit on every point. But, I mean, we just wish that, you know, the developer, the city, does what's best in the interest for our neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you very much. The next is Philip Baker. He's requested to speak and is opposed to the agenda item.
Hello, Mayor, Council members, I'm Philip Baker. I live on 1920 Charles Walker Road. And Javier brought up some very good points. At Don and Charles Walker with the curb in that road, there's no way to see. When you pull out, you put your life at risk every morning. We're concerned that everything that's in this area now has alleys. I'm concerned about if this development does not have an alley. We're concerned about the trash in the front. Rollout dumpsters tend to stay out front all the time, not just when they need picked up. Gas meters, everything else in alleys. When sporting events are going on at the Rattler Stadium, our traffic's terrible. We would like not to have cars adding to that, parked out in front of Charles Walker. I'd also like to know if any drainage issues have been addressed. I particularly get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work when it rains. And when it does, all I know is our drainage. So I'm forced to wade water to get to my truck. We would like just to, I mean, it's a very nice neighborhood. We would like to keep it as such and have an alley in the rear, have rear parking on this. Not opposed to homes over there. We welcome it, nice homes, like ours are now, to keep our property values the same. But I've heard different comments about yes, there will be an alley, or no, there will not be an alley.
Okay. Mr. Green, is there an alley?
No, sir, there's not.
There's not. Okay.
Which that's gonna add to the front of Charles Walker, not much room for parking for people that tend to park in the street when you have these sporting events. People running up and down through there, and all the utilities are gonna be in the front. Everything that's been added there, whether it be Grandi Communications or whoever, when they tore up the streets, they just patched them back out, just halfway. Nothing's been made to what our tax dollars have gone for.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead and ask a question.
Phil, point out where the 2 exits are from onto Don, from this development here.
Do what's
Can you
that?
point out where the exits are on the Don? There's
The
one up at the
exits
top
are
of the
out-
circle is,
The
and
exit-
there's the other one down there at the bottom over SF1.
It's right there.
There's
where he's
only-
got his-
That's one, there's the other.
Yeah, with that curve and that road right there,
Right.
there's no way you can see traffic coming from the
I'm
north.
guilty, I go to St. Elizabeth and I drive around here before I go, if I'm early to church, so don't hold that against me. Okay. But is the other one down there at the bottom? Is that?
Not another.
There's not
another.
another.
Not another.
That's it.
I think we need a light there.
It needs
I
something.
think there's a lot more than just a light.
Yeah, I agree.
We were talking in the pre-council meeting, I used to use Don quite a bit going through, I live about off 87th Street, and I got run plumb off the road nearly head on out there, so we don't go down that way anymore, just because of that right there, and I didn't realize, I thought that was still partially a county road, but they tell me that it is a city road, but that definitely is gonna be something that's worked on and fixed and widened there. I mean, that's a lot of traffic that cuts through, and once you put a signal light that's supposed to be coming on Yukon and Don, that will get a lot worse, because a lot of people don't go that way because it's hard to get out on the Yukon, but that's gonna change. I would say this, that was an area that people moved into that thought, man, this is great, this is out in the middle of nowhere, we like it, and fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at that, it's not gonna look that way in 5 years. I mean, but we need to plan to where it's done right. And I hate trash cans out in front of the house. I hate them. I never liked it. I told Michael and the other, one of the worst things we ever did was let developers come in and take away the alley. I know Mr. Landgraf sits back there and going, come on, Mike. But I'm saying, well, I don't like gas meters out in the yard. And I think we've got a development out in that area that was maybe it's not a country club, but was a place where people moved in and built bigger lots, bigger houses, and I, for one, think that we should keep it along those lines. We shouldn't be just building houses with small streets. You got Charles Walker, that's a narrow road anyway. You don't put an alley in the back where people can park in the back. Well, you can drive out in District 4 where the houses are built out there and they're stacked 10 foot apart, right? Is that right? 10 foot apart?
Yes, sir.
And there's about, what's the offset on the streets to the front of the house?
Out there, it's 20.
20
But it's a
foot,
straight
so
in
there's
shot.
no parking there's a little bitty garage that you can't get 2 cars in, so everybody parks on the street with their trash cans and all of that, and I don't blame you guys for not wanting to be in that situation.
Thank you.
So I think there needs to be some planning going on.
And that's what my question would be, what directly is it planned? Is that?
May I address some
Sure,
of those
we'd love
things?
to.
Is it appropriate? I think
Yeah,
there's
come
other
on
people-
up.
there's
Come
people
on
that
up.
want to
Yeah,
speak.
we've got 4 more after this, so we'll, go ahead and address the ones.
John Landgraf, 521 North Texas.
I'm
Mike.
sorry, that's the way.
That's all right. These are not little lots. This says not anything like what you were referring to. These are 100 feet wide and 140 feet deep, over 14,000 square feet. The average lot size is actually larger than the average lot size of all the lots that are out there today. A couple of 100 feet larger, but they're actually as large or larger than the lots that are there. And they're going to be big homes. This is not tract housing. These will be individual custom homes, just like the other homes that are in this particular subdivision. While this is not the plating issue, I think a lot of the things we're talking about are plating issues, but we've addressed many of those with Mr. Brindley earlier, like the side yard setback, pulling out on Dawn. We've set a 25-foot side yard setback. Normally, you wouldn't have that, but we understand the limitations there.
You're talking about from Don back to the
To the fence even, not to the building, but to the fence. So if we have a side yard fence, it would be 25 feet back from the property line.
Okay, where you have properties right now, where, they're set off of Don, is that the way it will be set all the way down through there? Is that the setback? The ones that have fences right now that.
No, there's a park, a linear park that was developed many years ago when Mr. Hurt first started planning this. There's a linear park along Dawn, and then it goes into some detention basins that help mitigate the drainage.
Right.
And slow that drainage down because of the downstream problems that were never originally addressed. But if 25 feet is longer than the length of a car, and then you've got from the right-of-way line to the back of curb right now is another 20 plus feet. But when this becomes a city street, five lanes wide, you'll still have 8 feet from the ultimate developed section there. So you'll have 32 feet, which is much longer than any car from where the fence would be to the edge of the through lane. So there's plenty of opportunity when this is constructed to have clear sight distance. And
So is that the plan to have a 5-lane?
well,
Eventually.
yeah, Dawn will ultimately be a 5-lane.
That's in writing.
Yes, that is,
That it will be a 5-lane.
Dawn is a arterial. How?
Hal and Tom are here, and they've done some traffic counts. I think they can speak to the actual literal number of vehicles that are happening. But Dawn is 5 lanes south of there, and what Mr. Lee put in Desert Ridge is Dawn 5 lanes, and it's pointed in this direction. There's just a gap, where it hasn't been developed yet. But ultimately, from Yukon Road all the way to 87th Street, I'll let these guys there can answer that.
Dawn is a minor arterial according to our master thoroughfare plan. It is the appropriate type of street for the conveyance from Yukon down to 87th Street, and based on our grid type systems for having that type of spacing. As far as traffic counts,
How many houses are gonna be built along that 6, is that what you said?
Yes.
6 houses? Why don't you approve 5 and then do
The park.
well, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, if you look at that deal, you already got a pretty good setback with what you've got in there. I don't know why you'd want to get away from what you've already started in there.
What do you got as far as traffic count?
Traffic engineering went out last week and did traffic counts at the intersection of Dawn and Charles Walker. And what we found was there's about 3,400 cars a day, average daily traffic, 3,400 cars a day that use Dawn. There's 382 on Charles Walker approaching Dawn. So that's roughly a 90-10% split of traffic on the 2 roads. But,
And that will, I don't know, it won't double whatever. When you put the light in, I can tell you the traffic is gonna go.
But not only that, but then also the development, that multi-family development that we've got going on with below the family, the apartment complex, that's gonna increase that.
those developments to the north is gonna bring more traffic to Dawn. The other point is that as part of this fiscal year, council awarded me supplemental funding for 2 new signals. One of those signals, that's currently I'm designing, is for the intersection of Dawn and Yukon.
Let's go ahead and hear from the rest of the citizens, and then we can finish discussion. Next is Jane Baker. Okay.
We're related, what can I say?
She lives at 1920 Charles Walker Road. Request to speak and is opposed to the gender item.
Yes, and the letter received is probably mine because I did mail in a letter. And my neighbors and spouse have very well spoken, and thank y'all for the opportunity to speak. The safety obviously is a big issue. Similar lot size and similar house size obviously is a big issue. We have been told both sides of the story that there will be a rear alley and there will not be a rear alley. Now I'm understanding there is not. I have great concern about the traffic parking on Charles Walker. My house faces that directly. It's already a nightmare with the speed of the traffic. It's already a nightmare with the kids riding their golf carts. And when you stack more cars that are going to be driving through and more cars that are going to be parked out front, if they don't have a garage and an alley to park in the rear, that's a great concern to me. The trash dumpsters, like you mentioned, if they are not in the alley, I've driven through other neighborhoods in Odessa that have the rollout carts. They're out 24/7. They're never put away like I've been told they're supposed to. It's a very big concern with not only the wild animals, but the domestic animals, the teenagers that run through the neighborhood. Those trash cans are going to be dumped over, and it's going to be my yard that they're going to be landing in. And I don't appreciate the opportunity to pick up other people's trash. I take care of mine. I paid a very good price for that house. To live in that luxury neighborhood like you talked about, everyone aspires to be out there. Every realtor you talk to is like, don't you want to sell? That's where we want to be. I don't want something put in across the street that's not very similar to mine, that will lower my value and lower the safety for my family and friends in the neighborhood. So those are my main concerns. Additionally, the gas meters that I would like to see in the alley that we were told would be there and not in the front, again, for the appearance of my neighborhood that I paid dearly for. So those are my concerns.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next is a gentleman by the name of Eddie Shelton. Requested to speak and is opposed.
I'm opposed. My name is Eddie Shelton. How many minutes do I have? Just 3. I'm here not as the commissioner of Precinct 1, which this area is in. I'm here as a resident homeowner. All their complaints were valid. They got a lot into the safety aspect, but that's not what brought them here. That's been there. This is just an opportunity for them to voice that concern. It's even with the setback like that, it's just a dangerous curve. I mean, you know, I was going to ask Hal if he was scared, you know, if they pulled out there doing the traffic, you know. So, but the big concern here, and I heard throughout all these other agenda items, was consistency. The lot size, the house size, as John said, are all about the same. But what's not consistent is the development. They're all rear entry garage. They all have alleys. There is no utilities out front, no trash cans, no gas meters. You build these 6 houses right here, you've blocked the development to the north. I mean, look at the one SF1 right beside it. I mean, that's a nice development. You could do the same thing going that way with this development. If you build the 6 houses right across the front, you've blocked that. But the big concern of mine and all the other homeowners in the area is consistency. Let's be consistent with the development that's already out there. It's been added on and added on. We're very excited to have new houses built out there and for our area to continue to grow. We just want it to stay consistent. That's all we need. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next is Heather Morales. And she requested to speak and is opposed to the agenda item.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and city personnel. I live at 3 Alionia, and some of my neighbors that came to the planning and zoning meeting are not here because of spring break. And so I would like to, on behalf of them too, reiterate what I agree with them, that we really want the alley. After being run off the road a couple of times with my children in my car, I refuse to go down Dawn, so I go down to Bosa, all the way to Yukon. And when I've tried to come back home from taking my kids to school, just trying to turn into my alley, I've had to wait for 10 cars to pass by because they're using Charles Walker to bypass. And then that's my concern, is that if you have those rollaway bins, and with that amount of cars coming through on that narrow road, I mean, something else I'd like to address too is that there is nothing blocking, all that is land. And when we get those big winds that come in, I mean, they're gonna take away the trash bins because there's no development blocking that northwest wind. And so they're gonna blow over, and that's just a big concern that I have. It's not the houses. I understand the houses are gonna be nice. They're gonna be custom looking homes. It's not, we just really want the alley just to match. You know, we have 148 homes in our neighborhood according to Nextdoor app. And, you know, we just want the homes to be like ours. And another issue with the rollaway trash bins is we have a lot of coyotes. When we walk through the neighborhood, you can hear them at night. And so they're like, and so we worry about the wild animals, domestic animals, you know, with the trash and all that. Anyway, that was it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's really me, not the coyote.
Yeah, I have that question. Next is Mike Podzimny. Is requested to speak and is opposed to the agenda item.
Mr. Mayor, Board, thank you and everyone here giving me the opportunity to speak. 2 things that I'm going to speak on are the trash cans. I'm not sure when 384 cars drove through that area, I hope it wasn't at nighttime. If you come about 7 o'clock in the morning when the buses are coming through, the vehicles are coming through to the school that's located just down on Dawn, the traffic is very heavy there. If trash cans are out there, and this is more of a safety concern, and I live at 8 Casilla, which is basically right here. Right there is 8 Casilla, so I'm not far from this street at all. But the traffic, I think, is going to be a tremendous safety hazard if there's trash cans out front. I don't live right across, and I'd be upset if I were these people as well. If those trash cans are going to come over, that trash is going to be in their front yard. But I've lived there since 2004. This traffic has continued to increase, and it's going to continue to increase. I was told that the reason that we're going to trash cans is because that's what the city's going to do everywhere going forward. I would urge you guys, if there's going to be one street that doesn't have trash cans in it, it's going to be this one, because this is going to be a dangerous street with trash cans there. So I think that the safety is something that's very important to consider. Number two, we talked about the Beaton Bow houses a minute ago. They have 7,900 square foot lots. These are 14,000 square foot lots, so obviously they're going to be bigger. Are they just going to be deeper? Are they going to have the Beaton Bow look? Are they going to have the Permian home look or the D.R. Horton home look? Don't get me wrong, I insure houses all over Odessa. I love Beaton Bow, I love D.R. Horton, and I love Permian. I just would hope that we continue to have a property and a house that looks like the houses that we have in our area. I'm not sure 6 houses is going to accomplish that on this small area right here. I heard that 5 houses were mentioned, and I'm very sorry to the developer if that's going to cost him money, but we've all spent a lot of money out there, and we would sure hate for the look and the continued look of our houses and what we're trying to accomplish out there to be diminished by cheapening that area. And I'm not sure that that does that, but I hope that's being addressed, and maybe 5 houses would do that versus 6. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the cards that I have. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak on that agenda item? If you would, please come forward. If you could give us your address and your name, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm Josh Olive. I'm actually behind the development. I also live at 7112 Tobosa and own the property at 7010 Tobosa. Okay. I can't address everybody's concerns in the 3 minutes, but I'll do my best. With regards to the homes that would be put in, the covenants and restrictions would be the same. They wouldn't have the Permian home look. They would look like the houses, and no offense to them, they'd look like the houses that are already there. In fact, Franco Customs Homes has already reached out to me inquiring about the property, and they built several homes in that area. When it comes to the safety issue, 100% on board with that. If I could put in a 3-way stop there, I'm all for it, but that is not something that I can control, that I'm aware of. With the 25-foot setbacks, I believe that does give you enough. I mean, I drive through that road probably 12 times a day going to work over off of Andrews Highway. So I'm there frequently, and the blank curve is dangerous. I agree. People speed on that road all the time. I don't think the traffic is quite as bad as what some of the others have said. Just because my house is actually right when you turn on the post office Charles Walker, that is my home there. With regards to the garages, there's no front entry garages allowed under the CNR. So there would be a front garage with a side entry, or it would be in the rear of the property and you access it from the back. There are 10 homes in our subdivision that are similar to this, so I believe it fits in. 7604 Tobosa, 7601 Tobosa, 7624, 7625 Tobosa, 7100 Tobosa, 7600 Vista del Sol, 7629 Vista del Sol, 6940 Tobosa, and number 1 and number 7 Maravilla Circle. They all have garage entrances that would be similar to these 6 homes.
You're still good. I mean, if you've got something else. Yes, okay, you said just a question for me. You said there's entrance in the rear.
No, the garage would be in the rear, the entrance would be through the front.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's 6942 Bosa's like that.
Before you leave, I have a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you planning to do more development than just these 6 homes?
Yes, not specifically in this area. I thought that these 6 homes right here, like to address somebody else's concern, would kind of like finish it off. It would give us a buffer, so to speak, so that if you have way off in the future beaten bow and then moving in, this would seal off our neighborhood. But I'm not planning on expanding in that area.
I
That's
guess
your
the
question.
thing that bothers me, and someone addressed this a little bit earlier, with the way you've got these houses lined up on the street, how are you going to, or anyone else be able to develop that area? I think you're
I'm not intending to do
kind
that.
of putting stuff in a box. So.
Yeah, I don't intend on anybody expanding. It would also limit homes from
You're
encroaching.
gonna do
It would keep homes from encroaching on our area, because it would be awkward to build there, which would keep our subdivision like it is, with all of our homes looking the same.
Okay, other questions from council?
I guess my question is thank you.
Thank you.
It is, frankly, I'm disappointed in our planning and zoning committee. We've got citizens that are on there, and I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I expect you to look ahead, look at the entire picture. You see how this whole development is developed, and you see that's a very small street, and you're willing to just, even though people came and complained to you, you still went along with it. I'm disappointed. For me, I'm willing to send this back to planning and zoning committee and tell them to look at this again.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak before I? Yes, sir. If you would just give us your name and your address.
I'm Dr. Paul Moody. I live at 7628 Vista del Sol, approximately a block from this area. I may be the only one in my subdivision from the turnout here that is not opposed to this. It's not that I don't share many of the same concerns that they do. You know, the traffic issues with Dawn and things. Again, I travel that regularly, going back and forth to the hospital and things such as that. The trash can issue is a large one. I've lived in cities that have had that, and I've lived where there are dumpsters and alleyways. The dumpsters and alleyways, from a citizen's perspective, is far superior. However, again, just like most of the rest of them, my understanding, this is a city of Odessa issue, not necessarily specific to this division. However, outside of that, with all of the housing being, for all intent and purposes, the same look to those that are here, with all of the garages either being side entrance or rear entrance, I don't see how it would take away from our neighborhood as opposed to add value with the homes that are there. Currently, when you drive past that lot, it's an open lot with nothing but mesquite bushes and trash in it. So there are a lot of trash bags, a lot of just stuff that blows through, things such as that. I feel like putting homes there with nice landscaping and manicured lawns would alleviate some of that and actually bring value there. I understand that doesn't address the safety issues of Dawn, but again, I don't believe that those 6 houses with the setbacks and things that they have will really have any effect one way or the other on that issue. So, I mean, I completely agree that the city needs to look at this and look at the traffic flows, because unless you're willing to move Ratliff Stadium, which has been there since I was born in this town, those types of situations are not going to be in any way significantly impacted by these homes. And so to have those homes there, I feel like would actually bring value to our area. I mean, that's my 2 cents about it. Again, I think many of the concerns are valid, but many of those are out of the developer and also out of the owner's hands at this point. It goes to the city to help us to fix those. So I just feel like it's a different venue that the complaints are coming from.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this? If you'd just give your name and your address, please.
Yes, I'm Gina Hood, and I live at 6 Cassia. I'm 3 houses down from where this development's going to be taking place. And at the zoning committee, it was discussed that putting an alley in is doable. There's nothing stopping that other than the developer. My concerns are primarily aesthetic. I want to make sure that whatever they do, I'm totally for building homes there as long as we continue the aesthetic value of what the existing homes out there have. Like she said, there's 148 homes out there. He mentioned 10 only having the side entry garages. That's 10%. 90% do not have side entry garages, and 100% of those homes out there have alley access. If he's all for keeping the continuity of the aesthetics, the integrity of the neighborhood, then why is he not willing to put in an alley? Those trash cans, like one of my neighbors said earlier, there is no protection from the wind when it gets going out there. And I guarantee that not only is there trash, but the trash can's gonna be in my front yard. And I don't want that. We pay too much money for our home for that to be the case. That street, Charles Walker, is much more narrow than most of our streets in and throughout the neighborhood. So if you have cars parked, already when there's cars parked in front of the homes that are facing north on Charles Walker, it's already very narrow with bypassing traffic. So if you have traffic on the other side of the street where the homes are parking out front, you have their trash cans out there, it's gonna be insane trying to get through there, and especially if the traffic increases. Again, I am completely for this building if they will keep with the continuity of the aesthetics and the integrity of the neighborhood, but not having an alley is not doing that. And it is doable. The Planning and Zoning Committee stated it is doable, they checked into it, and the only reason that it's not being done is because they don't want to spend the money that is necessary to put the alley in there. They have the room, the lots are very deep, so they can take back some of that room off the lots, shorten the depth of it, and put in an alley and keep with the integrity of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mrs. Hood.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this? Okay. If you'd just give us your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Elaine Cruz. I live on 10 Maravilla Circle, and I am for this building of the lots. I just want to reiterate what Mr. Olive had said. I've spoken to my builder personally, and he is very, very, very interested in building on these lots. And our house, back entryway, and I know that we did spend a lot of money on our house also, and so he wouldn't want to change any of that. It's going to be very nice. His landscaping is beautiful, his houses are beautiful, and so I know that that's just one issue. I agree with, everybody, what they're saying with their concerns, but as far as finishing up this neighborhood, I think it would be a good idea just to cut off that area, just not develop anymore, but also just block it off to where just the nicer houses, not the prefabricated houses come into this area, this neighborhood. All that towards the north is pasture, and so yes, there's going to be dirt and dust, and I mean, we live in West Texas, for goodness sake. I can dust one day and I have to go and dust another day. I mean, it's not going to change that we live in West Texas. As far as the trash, I get trash in my neighborhood on a daily basis. In my yard, I have to go clean that up. I don't think that's going to change by having 6 houses being moved in. And actually, it'll probably block off that area towards the south by having those houses there to protect the houses that are facing that direction. As far as all those, I don't think there's going to be a right way, there's going to be a wrong way. I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree. If we're going to try to beautify our neighborhood, to continue that area, and to make it as nice as possible. But I appreciate y'all's time and listening to our concerns.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else would like to speak on this agenda item? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Any discussion from council?
Mayor, may I?
Okay, sure, Mr. Grant.
Ms. Graff, you had mentioned, talk about P and Z. What they did is approve the zoning. They tabled the plat for the staff and the developer and all that to further look into it and see what we could come up with. And this is just related to the zoning. and not all the development issues that have been discussed here tonight.
Also, is there something that could be done? If I lived in this neighborhood, I really wouldn't want all of this through traffic from Charles Walker. Is there any way we can make this into a neighborhood street and
That's part of the design that we're all
stop
looking
all of
into
this
right now.
traffic?
We're,
I just think if I lived there, that's what I would want.
yes, and we're looking into that very situation right now at this time.
And have we looked into what, all of this other land, how are you going to develop that with the way these houses are? I
Oh.
think that's very important.
Is there a time on? Are you sure? Sorry, Ms. Gray, my time's up. Oh, thank God. Sorry, I tickled myself on that
That's
one.
okay.
No, just doing a cursory look on this is, there will be, in the future, there will be additional residential development in this area. But the way I see it coming in, that drill site is gonna have a major impact on any future development in this area. But where it will come in, there'll be, probably north of where that curve is, there'll be a road coming in to have a single row of homes coming in to delve out into some cul-de-sacs between the drill site and where this proposed development is. But it could be done. There can be some design done, but it will be a series of cul-de-sacs and access points north of where this curve is, coming off of Dawn that way.
So,
You know what might solve that whole problem? Put a park there. Go all the way up to the drill site.
Yeah.
Mr. Carter.
what's the hang up and the problem with putting that alley back there and running your utilities back there and putting in dumpsters? What is the problem with that? I'm gonna tell you, and I said this a while ago, it disturbs me to drive around the neighborhood out there. Man, I know Beaton Bow's built nice houses, and I understand that you have to build some houses. Not everybody can afford to live in Ratliff Ranch, okay? That's the way it is, so there has to be affordable housing for people, but, you know, we come in and we let this deal get out of hand, and we never should have ever done that. We should have not let that get out of hand out there where we quit putting the alleys in. I know we get 400 more houses out there, and we take the alleys away, but we also get gas meters in our front yards and all the utilities in our front yards and everything. And I know there's not a lot we can do about that part of that area because that's just the way that it was designed and it went on. And I didn't stand my ground on it probably like I should have. But I can tell you, this deal right here, there's not a reason why that the utilities should not go in the back and that we shouldn't have dumpsters back there and have rear entry alleys. And I'm not gonna go for this deal. If that's the way it's gonna be, then it's gonna be a pasture.
Yeah, well, like I stated earlier, this is just zoning for that. We have tabled the Planning and Zoning Commission tabled the plat to look at the standards, and I think John wanted to have one more statement related to that, because we have started the initial re-talking again to see what all we can come up with to try to alleviate all the concerns.
Mr. Magrum.
Yep, and I think what Randy's saying is this is a zoning case, not the plating case, and most of the concerns, the alley and some of those things are plating. But I can tell you, we've looked at it, and if you really and truly think that there's a traffic problem and everything, we have a solution for that, and we'll just cul-de-sac Charles Walker Road, and there will never be any more through traffic through there, and we're adding 6 lots, which is 18 to 24 vehicles a day. That traffic issue is non-existent then. I cannot address the dumpsters because my Director of Public Works friend, Mr. Thomas Kerr, says there shall never be any more dumpsters in Odessa, and I didn't make that decision. I think that's a city residential dumpsters. I believe that's correct, but I'll let Tom
I'm not
address
sure
that.
that that's the statement that has been
I was
made.
gonna say, Tom, I don't know that you have the power as a union, and I'm not challenging.
I'm not trying to throw in complete.
I'm not challenging your authority, but I can tell you right now, as long as I'm sitting on the council, I will never, and I told our our past city manager and Mr. Marrero also understand, I will never, ever, ever vote to get rid of a dumpster out of my alley and put a trash can in front of it that's gonna blow around and I'll tell you, the young lady that was up there a while ago that said she didn't mind the dumpster, you would mind them if that's what you had in front of your house that you had to go. Just drive out on 99th and 100th and 98th and 97th. Drive around out there on a windy day and see where all of those are at. They're all over the place, and you do it out there in the area where there's no wind to block, and you'll go look for your dumpster. If you had it out there this coming Saturday, you wouldn't know where it's at.
Okay.
So, anyway.
Well, I do work for the city manager, for you, and for the citizens of the city of Odessa, and I will convey whatever is required of me to do in that job. What we do have is that we do have a policy right now to move forward with all new development as rollouts. I will explain some of the reasoning with that. It really doesn't have specifically to do with alleys, but it has to do with where properties are moving now, with where the industry is going. Residential dumpsters are really not happening much anymore. That's one of the reasons when we talk about trying to get the side load trucks that you have so much more trouble in trying to find side load dumpster trucks, is because people are moving away from this. There's a lot of things that you can discuss with, and personally, it's whatever the community wants, but when you talk about varmints and things like that, I can almost guarantee you dumpsters are much more susceptible to that issue than rollouts are. That just seems to be a fairly sensical kind of thing, I think. But when it comes to dumpsters, yes, our policy right now is to move to rollouts, because
Who made that policy? We
That was
never.
made a long time ago.
When?
You were on the
Then
council?
I wasn't on the council when we made the policy.
No, I know one of the issues that council has talked about is the dramatic increase in the cost of a side load truck.
Check that out for us, Corey. I know you're good at digging. I think she's wrong about that.
We're talking about policy, we're just looking at this zoning, so,
Yeah.
we're gonna bring policy up and do it later.
To me, whether it is a rollout or the dumpster, it needs to be in the back, because everything else in this area is in the back. And someone a while ago used the word consistency, and that's something that I think we need to use. We need to get out our comprehensive plan, and we need to read it again, folks. Let's be consistent.
We do have rollouts in the backs
Please
of
give us some more
properties.
information on this, on Charles Walker Road, and perhaps we do need to close that road. And people
Well, that's
from
a-
some of the churches and elementary schools can go another way rather than go through the neighborhood. And if school buses are going through there, I'm really shocked. They have no business going through
No,
there.
we're not talking about closing the street, we're just talking about the zoning issue as of right now.
Yeah, and like I say, we are,
Let me ask you a question now. If we pass this and zone this where this can be built, or we can put the project in, this in no way says that we're gonna put 6 houses in there and we're not gonna put alley in the back.
no, sir.
This is just changing
That's
it.
still under consideration.
This is just zoning it
This
to
is
where
just
you can
zoning the
build.
property to say you can build single-family
Single-family.
homes. There's nothing finalized as far as
But it's just that
plating.
little bitty area right there.
Just changing it to special dwelling. Okay.
May I have a chance to talk?
Yes,
I'm sorry, 3 minutes right now. Yes, Mr. Brown.
I'm sorry.
No problem. I think there's two things that really concern me about this area, is that this area has changed so much from when it was originally built. I mean, we've got the usage of Ratliff Ranch, which is so, Ratliff Stadium, which is so much more than what it was before. We've got St. Elizabeth, we've got Ratliff Ranch, the golf course right across. We've got so many different things that were not there that I really think of one thing we need to make sure we do is immediately put this on what the needs are for safety. Because it really concerns me, the ins and outs of that location are very few, as we were talking about earlier. I don't know what the answers are as far as putting you know, in regards to the other things, and I understand we're talking about strictly as a zoning part, but the other thing that concerns me is consistency, because you do not want something that comes in that is far different than anybody else's in that area. I don't think it's fair to the neighborhood, and we've had, you know, if you look at it, we've had nearly 10% of this whole group talk, that number of houses out there, and I think that's enough to be heard. And so I would really suggest, and I appreciate what P&Z is doing, and I know there's various different guidelines that they've got to follow, but I really would hope that with the expertise that we have within our city, get the group together and along with the concerned citizens here, and come up with a solution that'd be amicable to everybody.
Yes, sir, that's why we tabled the plat in order to.
Right, and keep going. Thank you
Yes,
very
sir.
much for what you're doing.
Okay. We were just talking zoning, so do we have a motion? Not everybody wants.
I move we table this and give planning and zoning an opportunity to get with the developer.
Okay, we have a motion for the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, and I'll ask that the public please be informed with that y'all, I know P&Z may not meet at the right proper times, but I really ask that y'all be represented and we address the two questions that are at hand with consistency and safety.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is tabled.
I don't know if you guys know that Mr. Richter is on the P&Z board. I know you guys that went to the meeting though, and he's one of your neighbors there. He's right in that area, and he loves to talk. So
Okay.
get with him and get her worked out.
All right, next we'll open a public hearing to consider the approval of request by Verna Schulte Headley. Mr. Brennan.
Yes, sir, this may look familiar to the council, but it is not a repeat of a previous request. This is actually property that's located 200 feet to the east of where that previous request was. The property involved in the request is located southeast of the intersection of East Loop 338 and East 56. The site is currently designated future development. It is vacant. Land use in the area does consist of vacant land and retail development. Verna Schulte Headley is the owner and the applicant in this case, and the purpose of the request would be site development for CrossFit Personal Services gym and for ownership purposes of the lot. The proposed land use for this area is consistent with the city's future land use map. This area is considered a prime retail development land adjacent to or along northeast loop 338. Will act as a buffer for any future residential development to the east. Retail design will be held to aesthetic guidelines that will include building features, landscaping, screening, buffering, and controlled ingress and egress. Any metal building will have to incorporate building materials that present an enhanced face to the public. Traffic Engineering Department has determined that proposed development for this property will not add significant amount of traffic to East 56th Street, and any traffic increase to the nearby intersection with East Loop 338 will be addressed by traffic signals that are scheduled to be installed by TxDOT later this year. The Planning and Zoning Commission did approve this request. Planning staff does concur with this recommendation for approval.
Any questions from council?
Yeah, what are they gonna put in there?
What this is, Ms. Graff, the previous request that the council heard on this was actually the wrong piece of property that they wanted to zone. It's still going to be a CrossFit personal gymnasium.
Training.
So the training gymnasium, they're just moving it. Just,
Okay.
yeah. The other zoning stayed in place. They can still utilize that. It's just, they got a little bit ahead of themselves.
Okay. Any other questions from council? No, I will entertain a motion.
Second.
Oh, you're right, this is a public hearing, sorry about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
At this time, we'll open the floor for any public comment on this agenda item.
I'm afraid to say anything.
We'd love to hear you.
come on up.
Seeing none, go ahead and close the public hearing. We do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 7, open a public hearing to consider the approval of the request of Lico Energy Investment. Mr. Brennan.
Yes, sir. We had 70 notices sent out related to this case. We had 5 of these notices returned. We did receive 2 negative protests and 2 positive approvals. The property involved in the request is located northeast of the intersection of East 52nd Street and Conley Avenue. Site is currently zoned single-family 3. It is vacant, and the property is surrounded by residential development. The applicant in this case is Lico Energy and Investments Incorporated. They do own the property, and the purpose of the request would create 102 lots. Average size is nearly 5,600 square feet per lot. This would facilitate single-family residential development and related uses on this property. The area is located in the north part of the city's future land use map. This area is considered one of the areas for residential growth in Odessa. And the zoning requested for this site and the proposed development design is consistent with the city's priority for attractive, safe, and connected roadways with the intended land use context taken into consideration. The preliminary traffic flow is designed to go to 52nd Street and to Independence Drive. This will accommodate any anticipated traffic impact loads, and it will minimize any impact to adjacent developments. The Planning and Zoning Commission gave unanimous approval of this request, and planning staff does concur with this recommendation and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Are there questions from council?
Yeah. You know my question. Where's the park in this area?
I will have to defer to the applicant in that and let them address that situation.
I'm sorry, your name, sir?
John Landgraf, 521 North Texas. There is not a park in this particular development. We have this was a junior high site that ECISD sold late last year. Lico has purchased that, and there is a drill site that is not being used that's adjacent to this property that's open space, but there is not a specific park in this 102 lots.
And it hasn't been platted out yet.
It was platted as a school site, so this is why it's a replat. And then we're just doing the rezone that'll be consistent with this plat.
The biggest problem that our city is getting into, and it's really gonna bite us later on, we're building houses all over. We're not leaving any land for parks. We're not leaving any land for fire stations. We're just building houses all over the place. Yes, we need it. I want our developers to build, but we must have quality of life.
Well, Mrs. Grant,
Built this, yes, this was a public place. This was gonna be a school. I would certainly hope that our developer would realize that, and let's put in a park, let's put in a fire station.
Well, we don't need a fire station.
I can address fire stations in the eastern part. Parks Bell has set aside one, and set one, yeah, okay. We don't need.
But all over our city.
But Lico has done a park in their development just to the north of this in the Desert Ridge second filing phase 2 does have a park that's adjacent to the drill site that y'all have previously approved.
How many houses are slated to go in here?
102.
102.
And we do have a park.
It doesn't matter whether it's, every subdivision needs a park. And Lico shouldn't depend on another developer to do the job for him. I mean, we need parks.
And I appreciate your statement, but again, we have developers that are trying to make a living also. Parks is not the answer to everybody that lives in this city. We do have things that they can go out and do. It's a great city to live in. There's also houses you can run up and down the streets. But what we do need is development in order to have people accommodated. Parks is not the answer to all of it.
Well,
That's your opinion, and my opinion is otherwise, so.
Oh, we've got a lot of, and we had this discussion when we had the park ordinance discussion, we've got hundreds and hundreds of acres of parkland that's not developed in the city.
Try putting up a swing set in a drainage ditch. Try playing soccer in a drainage ditch. Everybody gives us their drainage ditches, and you can't put a park in a drainage ditch. They have to give us the drainage ditch anyway.
Okay, we're talking about this agenda item, we're not talking about anything else.
I'm talking about this agenda
You're talking
item.
about drainage ditch. This is not on this agenda item. So we have to specifically stay on this agenda item. So there's not gonna be a parking there?
No.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the floor for anyone who'd like to comment on this public, this agenda item. Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, the vote's to 2-1, and it passes. Next, we'll go to ordinances. Consider an ordinance adopting a new Atmos gas tariff. Thank you, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you.
Mr. Kilbrand.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. The city, along with 66 other West Texas cities served by Atmos Energy Corporation, is a member of a steering committee of cities served by Atmos West Texas. This ordinance that you have in front of you adopts a tariff that creates a new process for handling future rate increase applications from Atmos. The rate review mechanism, or sometimes you hear RRM, tariff that was in place in 2017 is expired. The RRM tariff process is to continue as a substitute for GRIP, which is the Gas Reliability Infrastructure Program process imposed by the Texas legislature, and city action on the ordinance is required to continue with that. The GRIP process does not allow any review of reasonableness of capital investment and does not allow cities to participate in the Railroad Commission's review of annual GRIP filings. So that's one of the reasons that the city of Odessa, as well as cities all across the state, have gone to this process. There are no rate increases associated with this RRM tariff ordinance. The ordinance adopts a tariff that permits future RRM cases to be filed and prescribes the boundaries or parameters for such filings. The former RRM tariff allowed for a rate of return on equity of 10.5%. This one reduces the maximum RRM tariff to 9.8%, and that was a negotiated item. The ordinance established a process and parameters. That's what you're doing. It does not set rates. The steering committee's executive committee, which constitute 13 cities and the legal counsel of Lloyd Gosselink, attorneys out of Austin, Texas, who are probably the state's leading utility firm, approved this and recommended all 66 cities to adopt this ordinance. Sort of as an aside, the federal income tax rate will be reduced per Atmos's approval. They've already approved this. Will be reduced from 35% to 21%, and that approximately $3.4 million will go back to all the ratepayers. So that isn't part of the ordinance, but that's sort of an aside, just something that Atmos has done, agreed to.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Hildebrand? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Hildebrand. Next, we go to appointments, under miscellaneous appointment of boards. Mr. Muller.
For the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, appoint Blas Campos. For the Citizens Golf Advisory Committee, reappoint Grayson Hankins and Lane Wilson.
There needs to be junior on Bloss.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. I have, item 11, I have no more comment cards from citizens, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.